So, Diana, we get back, and dear viewer, this is the stimulus. It is your one-stop center for your inspiration, and I would like you to always look out for this and always make time, plan for it, and come and touch base with inspiration. So, Diana, now your boss comes back, and thankfully he finds that you had regained your compass of emotional stability. So, how did you move on?
Well, I think that he did not know how to deal with the situation because he recognized that he had done something that was inappropriate. He recognized that he had done something that was inappropriate, or the word probably is not unbecoming, but he was able to find a way to temper the situation. And I think about that time, there's a ritual we had in the morning that we used to do.
Yep.
And I stayed back from that ritual. And so he noticed something was amiss. And when I did not do it for 3 days, he asked me what the problem was. And I explained that, well, this is what happened. And well, he's not one to apologize, but he said it in between many words. But I was able to grow a different sense of respect for him because he knew something had gone wrong and he wanted to mend the bridges for us to move on.
And that's good leadership. Yeah.
Yes, it is good leadership. And as I said, that if I had not stayed in that moment, I would not be where I am today.
So how did those words hit you when he shouted? What's the impact like? You felt like you're worthless or something? How did you feel?
I think I was quite offended. I was very offended because it was done in front of people that were my juniors to begin with. So I was quite maybe my ego was offended or my pride was offended, but I was very offended at that point. And I said, I am an adult. I don't need this. Yeah, I can fend for myself elsewhere. It made me, I think, feel that I was disrespected and I was not valued. And when you don't feel valued, you have no reason to feel that you can go on in a particular place.
Great, and that's where the positive attitude comes in. Because you will not need to employ a positive attitude where life is rosy. Yeah, something will come your way to cause you feel like this is the end of the road. But because of the positive attitude, you choose to stay regardless of the circumstances.
Yes.
And I believe that it is that attitude that separates you from the crowd. So if it is a moment for, say, a promotion, they're not like for someone who has been flying high. They will look out for, they will employ what I would want to call a litmus test, to test and see who actually deserves it. And most likely you who sat back in that heat of the moment may take the crown. Now, something I'd want to pick your mind on, people dispense negativity, and yet they do not have a fallback. For example, you could have chosen to go out with or without a job. And the emotions in the moment, the heat of the moment, cause you to forget the whole consequence out there. Why do you think that? How does that come about? What's the root cause of all this?
Of the negativity?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I think I'll speak to my generation, and my generation being the people below 40 will be the threshold. I never thought I'd be saying that, but here we are. So, they're below 40. When you grow up in a home that does not expose you to failure or does not expose you to a level of conflict, you tend to think that life works in a particular way.
Okay.
In my very first job, I remember I went to work and there was a lady at the time and she was very rude. She was very rude and I was quite offended. So I went home to tell my parents about it, and they responded with, well, that's what work is. That's not what I was expecting from them. I was expecting comfort, I was expecting encouragement, but it's not what I got. But you see,
They moved you to face it.
coming from where I was coming from a place where I was shielded for a long time, I was not taught how to deal with conflict. I was not taught that I would actually experience conflict. You always want to grow up thinking that I will be in charge of my life. And because I'll be in charge of my life, I will not be able to take anyone's bad manners or nonsense. But when you grow up and you've not been taught to deal with conflict, because it's going to happen, you have a tendency to resent things when they come your way.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, conflict is going to come. As long as there are two people, conflict is going to come. And I think that family background plays a lot in how someone deals with situations, especially at work. I think that also unmet expectations in many ways. You want to, when I was coming out of school, I said my first job, I will earn 3 million shillings. I will have, these were my terms, I will have a car.
Did you have the title in mind?
Not
or
at all.
The grade and everything?
I just thought this was my worth coming out of school.
Yeah.
No training, no experience, nothing. I was even in my father's house, nothing. But I expected that this was what my life would be like.
Yeah.
And so when you get into a workplace and there are unmet expectations and you don't know how to deal with it, you also have a negative attitude at the end of the day. And that doesn't help because nobody has mentored you, nobody has trained you, nobody has shown you that real life has challenges. It has ups and downs. It has many things to go over that you might become a person who is whole at the end of the day.
So what would you credit to your current position, perception about attitude, or the kind of attitude you expose now? What? Because you said your family, you're not so much exposed to the conflicts of operations in the corporate world or in any work around. Did you have an individual? Did you take on an individual move to groom yourself and build your character differently? And what did you do?
I think mine was very accidental mentorship. Mine was quite accidental. With the different career choices I kept making, I ran into people who stretched me beyond where I would have been. So as I spoke about someone whose position I almost walked away from, I think that person stretched me more than I thought. They taught me how to deal with conflict. They actually threw me into situations they knew I would conflict with people that I might learn to deal with it. They stretched me and showed me how to deal with workplaces, how to be professional regardless of what is happening. I think that mentors play a very, very key role in how you are able to frame your mind, able to go forward in your career, and able to keep the main thing. Constantly, when I was with this person, they said to me, learn to deal with what you can deal with, remove, and when you find an obstacle, find a way to work around it.
Yep.
If it's not working for you, find a way out of it. But remember to keep your eyes on the goal.
Great.
Remember to keep your eyes on the goal. I think even that for me, it was one of the best pieces of advice I received during this campaign. At the beginning, someone said to me, keep your eye on the prize. Keep your eye on the prize. There'll be so much distraction. Keep your eye on the prize. I think for me, that saved me. Many times when I would falter, that was the same word that people kept saying to me, keep your eye on the prize. So it made a difference to me. So mentors is a big thing, especially people who have been there. They have been there, so they know how to navigate the things that are quite difficult. But I cannot help but say your spiritual stand helps a lot.
The God factor.
Yeah, it helps so much because, like I said, in that moment of heat and anger, it took remembrance of a scripture for me to get down and sit down.
Which scripture was that?
So you're going to make me actually quote the Bible. So
if you don't remember it, you can
I do know. So the scripture is that when the king's anger rises against you, do not leave your post.
Great.
So
Very
for me,
interesting.
it's translated so much into the working world that when and the king could be your boss, could be anybody in authority.
Yep.
When their anger rises against you, do not leave your post. It's very easy for us to get up and say, I'm done. I'm tired of this place. But in the moment, what it helped you deal with is realizing that your emotions are not the sum total of what is happening. There's more to come.
Exactly.
So I think that there's a lot more on your spiritual backing, your moral understanding that help you deal with those issues.
So, dear viewers, this is very, very interesting, and Diana, that's really great. And I would like to tell you that, just like Diana said, you never just get out of that chair and leave, because one, there's a consequence out there, but two, the whole situation is different. You just need to take that moment. If you can't find the scripture, you can seek to get in touch with yourself better and resolve the problem at hand. But there is this aspect of people, there are many negative people, you know, and so you wonder, why this negativity? Do these people think about the impact of this negativity? You know, the impact is quite big. Now, I would want you to look into your campaign journey. Just pick out one thing that you think, this one almost floored my attitude. A big challenge to your positive attitude or to your positivity on matters of life, and you almost said, do I need to be here?
I don't know if that's a fair question. First of all, being a woman is quite unique because you have more challenges than a man when you're out campaigning. Being a single woman makes it much harder.
So did guys challenge you on those grounds?
Yes, they did. But I think that every woman that actually stood, you realize that your sexuality, your feminineness, your being a female, all these things came to the forefront. So the men were not asked the same questions as you were asked. And sometimes it became, I think for me, uncomfortable when people were in my inbox asking very, what I'd call intrusive questions. I many times wanted to say things that would not win their vote. And sometimes you wanted to say, keep it. But those are the polite words. You'd want to say, keep it. But having, for me, to step back and realize, well, this is my phone. I can choose to answer or I cannot choose to answer. What is it that I want from this person? When it gets uncomfortable, how far can I go? I also had people I reached out to and say, I reached out to and say, I'm being asked, especially a male, and saying, I'm being asked this question, because you want to understand from a man's point of view, why is another man asking me such a question? So I had people I would reach out to and say, I'm being asked this question, I'm uncomfortable. How do you think I should respond? So that, for me, being surrounded by people who knew what the goal was, how to respond in such situations, also people who had been there before. So they were able to help me temper it. I had a campaign team of people who kept saying, keep the main thing, the main thing at the end of the day.
Great. I think that's a great takeaway from this stimulus. Keep the main thing, and keep the eyes on the ball. And dear viewer, I would like to tell you as we conclude that if you want to see your career grow, if you want to succeed and hit that goal, please keep a positive attitude. With it, you will have no mountain so high for you to go over. With it, you'll be separated from the crowd. With it, you will have so much fruit that you never fathomed, but only if you keep a positive attitude. The negative attitude, forget about it. But train yourself to be able to detect that you're actually losing it. Diana sensed it and had to sit back, take back, and be able to regain her senses and was able to reconnect with her boss. It is a time to learn how to reconnect. And we're not saying that we're angels, that will live such a seamless life that you'll never get distracted. Please do get distracted, but be able to come back in right time, back to your senses, and keep the course. Thank you very much.